Welcome to the Cincy PostCast. Before we get on with today's very special episode, I want to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. For my money, the best brewery you will find in Cincinnati, located over in the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood on the east side of Cincinnati. Streetside has everything you are looking for when it comes to a local brewery. They've got a fantastic, wide selection of beers, and they are great at all of them. Let me tell you, they are doing some really, really good stuff over there. The food is great. There's always at least one food truck over there. Always some good food. And one of my favorite things over at Streetside are the constant events that they have going on. There is always something going on over at Streetside. But this week, I gotta tell you, if you are looking for a place to watch FC Cincinnati, the home opener, you don't have tickets, go watch at Streetside. One, you can stay warm while you watch. Two, the beer's a little cheaper than in the stadium. So I can't think of a better place to watch a game that isn't, I'll be honest, TQL Stadium. But if you're not making it out to the stadium, you could do a lot worse than Streetside Brewery for all of your home and away matches for FC Cincinnati. Check them out. And when you do, mention the PostCast. Mention this podcast for $1 off of each beer when you close out your tab. It's a good thing we got going over there with Streetside. Huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode and so many other episodes of the PostCast. They've been really, really good friends of ours. So go check them out, please. Good stuff going on over there. So again, use the code, mention the PostCast at checkout. And thank you to Streetside for sponsoring today's episode. This is, in fact, not a prank. It was real. It really happened. We did a live show from a Gold Star. That is right. It really happened. As far as I can tell, and I've searched through all the archives, we're the first soccer-specific podcast to do a live show from a chili parlor. If you can find one, let me know, okay? But I think history was made on this evening, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun listening to this episode. So what you get in this is in part one, it is a sit down with me and 4 former and 1 current supporters group leaders talking about the good old days. Some of these guys were there literally in the room when the supporters groups were started. We got some really funny, interesting stories. How did Gary get his name? You know, where did that come from? How did this team get into MLS? All sorts of weird things. Did you know about the town hall that got Gerard Nijkamp and Jaap Stam fired from this club? I bet you didn't. There's some very, very fun, interesting stories, as well as like just good lore from the club. In part 2, we keep the guys up there. I know part 1 ends and it sounds like they're going to go away. We keep them up there. We get hyped for the season ahead. We get excited for what is about to happen and where our expectations are. In part 3, we wrap it up with a brief conversation with Shwy from Jim Trace and the Makers, and then took a couple of questions from the audience. Put it all together. It's a really fun show. I will say, when I listen to podcasts, I don't like listening to live shows because I think the audio quality is terrible. I think we did a good job capturing the audio. You will obviously be the judge of that, but I think you'll enjoy this. I think it's a really good conversation with all the folks that were able to come out. Also, a very funny thing. Chief shows up eventually, okay? I'll give you that little tease, okay? But all right, without much more than that, here is the live show from Gold Star. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. If you are here for the Cincy PostCast, if you are not here for the Cincy PostCast. I am so sorry for what is about to happen to you. You did not sign up for this. You did not ask for this, but it is going to happen anyway. Now, I am Kevin Wallace, one of the co-hosts of the Cincy PostCast. Some of you may have only ever heard me, and I look forward to disappointing the mental image of what you thought my face might look like. Unfortunately for tonight, Grayson, of course, I kid you not, is out skiing somewhere. I don't remember where.
No way.
Nobody is shocked. Chief, on the other hand, Chief was supposed to be here tonight. Chief had a flight that was due in last night. It was canceled. He was waiting on standby this morning. He didn't get on. I have been told, and the last update I have as of 15 minutes ago, he is expected to walk through that door at 8 p.m. If that happens, that'll be exciting. We can all clap or boo when he comes in. I'm sure everybody has a take of his that you'd be happy to boo. Otherwise, you just got to deal with me and this rowdy cast of characters next to me. I am so excited to get sort of this episode recorded for the PostCast because we've talked about this for a long time. This is the 10-year anniversary for FC Cincinnati. I always find that a little weird because it was founded this year, but it's only the 9th year of playing. Next year's the 10th year on the field. Whatever. But what I have next to me here is a cast of characters that have been there from the beginning in the early days of the supporters group, building the culture and truly the spirit of this club behind the scenes, in the stands. A couple of, dare I say, Bailey legends up here. That's a great inside joke with these guys. But no, I've got a couple of stories in mind, and I know these guys are chock full of some great stories of some of those early days, some of the interesting tales that we have that we share amongst ourselves. I wanted to get some of that recorded. I wanted to get some of that down on, I'd say tape, but this is all digital. So let me introduce. I'll start from the far end and work my way forward here. Guest on the podcast previously.
Yes, very much so.
President, founder, the truly the godfather of Norden. I'd say at this point, guys, probably the largest supporters group. Pretty
we don't talk
close
about those things. I also think that that's true. But thankful that you allow those of us like from the far north to come to the far south in the Tri-County area. We are south of my lands, but it's great to be here.
I hopefully you got your paperwork in order and you were able to cross over.
Truly,
no problem.
Truly.
Yeah, Marshall, you've probably driven the furthest of anybody here to be here.
For tonight, yeah, no problem.
I very much appreciate it. And next to you, another Chris White, former president of the Pride, somebody I served on the board with.
True. Yeah, we go all the way back to the very beginning. Plenty of stories to tell about Kevin Wallace tonight.
I don't think we need to do that part of this. Some of these people I like to think like me, so let's maintain that. But Chris, no, we've served in the trenches together as well, building up the Pride. So happy to have you aboard here. And next to you, some people may know him as the mastermind behind Das Harks. Not to out you here, but the one and only Max Ellerby.
Das Harks in the building. No, Kevin, we're definitely going to tell those stories about you. Fun fact. So yes, I served on the board with a few of these gentlemen. You're the reason I joined the Pride because
I'm sorry.
A story we'll get to later, but I'll leave it till later. But you're the reason.
I like a tease.
I'm your fault.
I'm taking great pride in that.
You should.
And next to Das Harks, joined by the one and only Jared. Jared, I got to be honest with you. I've never said your last name out loud, and I don't think I'll ever get it right.
Come on, let's hear it.
Is it Jared Hondras?
Nah.
Damn. I knew I wasn't going to get it.
I've gotten Honda.
Honda? Okay.
I used to get Handra, but Handra is fine, yeah.
Handra?
Yeah,
okay.
that'll do.
Jared,
Like
Handra.
feedback?
There's a little bit of
little bit?
feedback.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I might turn you down
These
a little
technologies. You know.
bit. But Jared, you were what? The vice president of Die Innenstadt.
Die Innenschlag, yes.
Die Innenschlag. One of my, I'll just start off with this. One of my favorite memories with Jared was in 2020. I want to say we were in the height of the pandemic, and we knew that the stadium was coming to Over the Rhine, and we all desperately needed to know where was the march going to go. And we literally walked around in the middle of the street. There were no cars. Nobody was out and about. We literally walked around and just mapped out what the march would be. And I remember at that time, we said that the dream would be able to walk down Pleasant Street, but there's no way they would let us do that. If we could get down Pleasant Street, we would have the best pregame ceremony in MLS. That is exactly where we walk down right now. It is amazing that goofing around down in OTR actually turned into a cherished, beloved institution.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times we could say, like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And then it actually happened. They're like, oh, shit, now what? So, no, I'm really glad to see that actually came to fruition. So,
yeah, I remember it was like me, you, the chief, Lammy,
the enforcer,
Todd
Carnes.
With this
was-
little booklet.
Yeah. Stopping traffic.
Carnes was supposed to be here, to be clear. He texted me he was feeling under the weather and did not want to turn this into a super spreader event, which
Respect.
I appreciate that, Mr. Carnes.
Yeah, we're all the better for it.
But Carnes is one that I wanted to yell at for the fact that we still don't have cold flares in the Bailey.
Yeah, I thought he was developing some new technologies that he had seen in Scandinavia or something and bringing it over, but
I've seen them.
still waiting.
I've run my hand over the flame.
Like
they
you
exist.
physically have seen them here.
in the US.
There's a guy in Denmark that developed those, right? Because they're really big into pyro over there, and the guy wanted a way to safely have flares in hand. Develops this cold flare technology. Carnes tries to get it overseas. Fire marshals, not a big fan. Not a fan at all.
What's really funny is I had also reached out to that same fireworks manufacturer there, and I was told I was going to have to use like a freight forwarder and an import company. It was going to be this whole giant, massive to do, and Carnes just got that guy to mail him a sample.
That's the most Carnes thing I've ever
That's
heard. honestly.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's a Carnes thing, right?
He has
there.
his ways.
He just gets it done.
Yeah, just casually internationally mailing a bomb, basically. No big deal. Jared, I think let's start here as well, because we were talking about it right before recording.
Yeah.
You were also a co-host with the Chief, believe it or not.
Yeah.
To one of my favorite moments in FC Cincinnati history, and sadly, I think only about 100 people really got to participate in this. Could you describe to people what happened?
So I actually blocked a lot of this out from my memory because until you mentioned it, I was kind of thinking it was something else. And then I was like, oh, damn, we actually did do that. If I remember right, like the team was in such bad shape in terms of results, in terms of roster construction, in terms of name it all, tactics, during the Nijkamp, Jaap Stam era. And so I think there was an idea floated around by, I don't know if it was the club. We kind of worked with the club to get some, just get it out there, get some questions answered from our supporters and just kind of bridge that gap that had kind of rift, I should say.
I think Steck set it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
Steck set it up with
exactly.
us.
So
Yeah.
let's how deep can we go here?
As deep as you want. Worst case scenario, the people here will get the truth. I will edit the podcast.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That is good to know right now. Okay, cool.
All right. Club wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
There's a small cadre of supporters who, even during closed door matches, were going and putting the banners out, the tifus and whatnot.
Yes, the Tifus.
They were getting pretty burnt out, especially given that the team didn't seem to be matching their efforts. So they staged a protest, told the club ahead of time, hey, we're not satisfied with the results. We are going to, for one match, hold down the banners. This
Again-
became
Against Columbus.
Yeah.
against Columbus.
This was hell is real, closed doors.
I didn't
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
became hashtag Bannergate because it
Bannergate.
was, let's just say, not popular. Don't need to go into the dorky details of supporter inner workings, but not everyone was a fan. But at the same time, if you're not doing the doing, it's difficult to stop people from doing the doing. Though they didn't ask everybody, blah, blah, blah. So that protest was issued, and the club responded by inviting some of us to witness their play in person and have a discussion with the coach and the GM.
Now, hang on. I want to emphasize that point. That a couple of the supporters group's leaders, which I will say in my time very rarely got special treatment. This was a moment that they got absolutely special treatmented.
Yes.
And what happened was, as you said, some of the leaders of the supporters groups were invited to Nippert in the midst of COVID when no crowds, no fans were allowed in. It got into the owner's box.
Forehead scanning, the whole 9 yards. We had to go through.
Yeah,
little
literally
quarantine
like
protocol.
temperature checks, like everything. Because the argument was that the team is actually a lot better if you can watch them in person. Sadly, you all are watching on TV. You don't get to see the full picture. Let's invite you out to Nippert so you can actually see this team play. And I think they lost 3-0 in that game.
It was brutal.
Who did they lose? I actually want to know who they played.
Oh my God.
Because
that's a good
it's going to
trivia
hurt even
question.
worse, probably.
It was not
It's
a
probably
good
like,
team.
Probably like Chicago.
Like,
or
I think they
something, yeah.
picked a bad team on purpose.
that
Like
sounds
one of the
right.
Canadian teams or
Oh,
something.
yeah, probably Montreal. They,
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I think that was the match where the keeper tried to stop the ball from going out of play, dropped it right in front of the goal for a tap in.
That was it. That was the Bobby Edwards drops the ball right in front of him game. So, yeah,
Yeah.
if you can look up that low light, you can figure out who the
No
opponent was.
disrespect to that guy. Great guy, just brain fart moment.
Coaches for FCC now. So he is on the academy
Take
coaching
that back.
staff. So let's be careful.
Take it back. I said he was a nice guy. So anyway, they invite us in. It doesn't go particularly well. Let's just say somebody called somebody at the club and said, hey, some clubs around the nation, they issue votes of non-confidence in their GMs.
Yep.
We are getting to that point. Discussions within the supporter groups are getting to the point where we feel we may need to demonstrate further. We care a lot about this club. We cannot stand idly by while, despite their best efforts, we aren't seeing the results. We built too much. That goes and goes and goes. And then maybe somebody makes a phone call to a co-CEO who recently demoted themselves from the GM role and says, hey, we'd like to get these guys on the line. Steck then sets it up, finds a time, facilitates, and then
And then somehow, I don't know how, I'm not the best speaker when it comes to people in this group. I mean, we've got a lot of really good candidates. I end up being one of the MCs for the event along with the chief. And yeah, it was tough because like I've never hosted a podcast before. I've been on a podcast. I listen to whatever, yeah. And, you know, we had questions coming in from, you know, supporters. We kind of gathered them across all the groups and kind of had a list going. They gave us nothing. I mean, let's be honest. Like, it was like basically every answer kind of boiled down to you guys just don't understand how soccer works. And I'm like, you also don't understand how GAM works. So, like, we're at an impasse here, right? And
something's not working.
and you know, it's in the midst of COVID, like you said. We're on Zoom, and Alex Dex, she did great. Like, she really drove the event more than us. But the questions came from us. But like, so much dead air, like more dead air than like you would kind of anticipate for like meetings during COVID, right? So it was like, all right, I'm hoping Alex Deck just like jumps in here and saves us and like moves us on to the next thing.
I want to say you guys dressed a global footballing legend and his GM down on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
It was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
And just every question that was asked, Yapstam just slumps further down into his chair.
Yeah, like, when you put it that way, it's there's a lot of those moments, right, where you're left like, damn,
Yup, stomp.
that happened. Yeah,
By
yup,
the
stomp.
way,
Yeah.
yup, stomp.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd be better at defending himself.
Yes. Yeah, he had a lot of quips about if you really support a team, you don't really question the moves made. I think he maybe said something about that after their first protest, and it was just like,
incredible stuff.
damn, we pissed off Yop Stom. That's pretty cool.
I seem to remember too, towards the end, Chief went into prosecutor mode and he started layering question on top of question. And it ended with, and it's going to kill me, I'm not going to remember the actual question, but it ended with like, given the criteria you've laid out to be a successful GM, do you think you have been a successful GM? And he did not have a good answer. And I genuinely believe that moment got both of them fired. Like I think at that moment, the phone calls were made to Sportsology or whoever the consultants are to get these guys out.
Definitely had a Jim Halpert moment there with being on camera and Chief kind of dressed them down. I'm just kind of like, ooh. I'm just gonna sit back on this one.
I was texting you guys in the background like, hey, there's been like 9 brutal questions in a row. Weave in, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I think that might have been what my role was. Like, hey, thanks for doing this.
So there'd be a question and Jared would be like, guys, I really want to thank you for sitting down with us. Anyway, why are you useless?
Why are you the way you are? That was...
Yeah, just these great moments where I guess like people don't see that work of the supporters groups because, like I said, I don't know how many people are on that Zoom. At most, like 200 people, right? Like, but I as I said, I genuinely believe it cost both of them their jobs. They could not handle what little pressure that really was. They just couldn't do it. It is so funny. I don't know, Chris. I want to go to you because there's another piece of this. If we go back a little bit further back in time, I know this is a spot near and dear to Max's heart, but I want to go to you. There was a special Tifu, as we're calling them now. Tifu, by the way, I think it was Stom mispronounced Tifo in an interview about that banner protest.
I think it was Bobby Edwards.
It was because
he wanted the Tifus back.
Let's just blame Stom.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he doesn't work for the club. So,
yeah, he works for the club now. He's one of the good guys. No, but there was a banner deployed, a Tifu deployed during the New York Red Bulls Open Cup match. They got some folks in trouble, kind of. Do you want to tell that story?
May or may not have been sanctioned behind the scenes, but
What was that banner and why was it made? What was going on?
Cincinnati Build It Here banner. That was a little bit of shadowy behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Well. We're in Kentucky as we speak. How funny is that? Okay.
A state I hate, apparently. That's all I was told that entire time was I hate the state of Kentucky because I wanted the stadium in Cincinnati.
There's so much fertile ground on this topic for so many things no one will care about, but we're so impactful for so long. Sorry.
But yeah, please describe you were a part of this, yes? I'm not misremembering it. I thought me and you painted it. So
we did at the sign museum.
You were the face of the movement.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This guy going on Bill Cunningham and
literally they put your face in the newspaper
on the Inquirer, and they missized it. So when you loaded the letter,
it was just my face. A selfie I took in my cubicle at work.
So there was to give the context here. The supporters groups co-authored a sort of like collective letter of statement saying, hey, we would really like, as fans of FC Cincinnati, we'd really like the stadium to be in Cincinnati, sort of applying pressure to city and county officials. And they asked for somebody's face literally to be on the thumbnail of like the, letter to the editor piece of it. And so
I don't know why it fell to me.
It fell to Chris. I think you were just the only one
on that sword.
With an internet
just
connection.
Didn't have a call at that time.
Right.
Probably.
And you physically had the time at that moment to take the picture and send it to someone.
And unfortunately, this is before the time of generative AI, so like we couldn't just whip something up real
Filter
quick.
technology wasn't where it is today.
Snapchat didn't have the technologies yet.
So poor Chris has a selfie that I'll say is from a fairly unflattering angle in a 90s looking office cube, and submits it off to the Inquirer. Nobody will ever see this photo of her again. Right. And when it gets published, I don't know what happened to the formatting. Chris's face took up the entire webpage for like an entire day. If you loaded it, it was just boom.
I was like, all right, it'll just be this little tiny thing, like where they put the author usually for an article. No.
Not at all.
The entire header.
So face of the movement of Build It Here, and this banner gets deployed. The banner was Build It Here, but I can't figure this piece out. We got in trouble for it, but we're politely asked to do it. What happened here?
So I mean, it was a method to apply some pressure to city and county officials, while being at kind of arm's length. A little bit of, a little grassroots.
A little. It'd be a real shame, but also helpful if somebody did this and got took off for it.
Yeah, so it was tucked up the majority of the match. I think it was probably the 70th, 80th minute or something like that. We kicked it over the front. Hilarious that all the pictures going forward were perfectly cropped. It had Cincinnati up top and then Build It Here. All the pictures of the Bailey for that game were cropped just to have the Cincinnati and not the Build It Here.
Was this also before we were allowed to put banners over the front?
Yes.
Because that hits different.
Yeah, I think
sure was.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember like people leaning over the front row just to figure out what it says. And we're like, because we at that point, right?
Right. Because it was all
we had
ads.
been fighting for years to get banners put up there.
Yep.
And they're like, well, Carl wants his school to be on there. So we're like, all right, well,
Yeah,
can't really argue with that.
A little more context there about the whole banner thing. So for those who don't know, FCC sold every bit of potential banner space for ad revenue, as well they should. But we, as supporters, wanted to do supportering and have banners and so on. And it was a years-long fight to say, can we have a banner here? No, we sold that for X amount of money.
They also chase us as the Pride
They sure
around
did.
the stadium. We would find a place to hang our banner. They'd be like, that's great visuals. That's a great spot for an ad. And then they would throw an ad there and we couldn't hang our banner there. Jared found the perfect spot right at the top of the Bailey for DI's long banner.
Oh man, we planted the flag there. Like,
they
listen,
never put an ad there.
Nah, no, couple Ryan guys flags. What can you say? So.
Oh, man. Yeah, Kevin, please put a pin in flags in general.
Noted.
To that end, how far can we lift the rug on this Build It Here thing?
Max, I had written a note down earlier today to ask you a question. I think I have it up here. This will be great. Nope, it's not here. The question was, you take a swing and sometimes you miss. The question was, how many people did we work with go to prison?
An alarming amount of them. I want to go percentage.
I'm unlocking memories for Jared.
You want to go
right now.
percentage on that?
I think
Yeah,
we're
I'm gonna-
up to like 6.
Yeah.
Let's just say I felt bad being in that Slack group. I was like, ooh, a lot of these people went to jail.
You should
I
feel
may
good.
or may not have a framed newspaper cover given to me by a man that may or may not be in federal prison today.
He's out.
I think someone else.
He got out.
I think Max might have one of those too.
I do, and I still can't bear to look at it. Okay, so I don't know if I'll get buried for this, but whatever. Let's go. So FCC wants to get an MLS.
So I heard.
In order to do that, FCC needed the buy-in of the county, state, city, the officials.
Hang on,
space-
real quick.
Oh my God.
Chief.
How's it going, guys?
Great.
For the podcast only listener, the chief just showed up.
Chief, we're on Build It Here stories.
Yeah, you just came just in time.
we're catching up. The question that prompted this story was, how many people in the Build It Here process went to prison? And I think we settled around 5 or 6 people. I'm going to let you jump in here.
I think the answer is not enough.
There he is.
Sorry,
Yes.
guys.
So we needed all these things to essentially prove to MLS that we were worth it. We're not going to get the Miami, the LA, the New York treatment. We have to have a venue. We have to have all of the bells and whistles, agreements, and so on. So there's a consultancy group hired to get some of this done. They
Right.
show up at a supporter event, and some club officials corral a few of us and say, hey, frankly, we're just going to come right out with it. We need some political dark arts done to get this done. You guys in?
Yeah.
Couple of our compatriots walked right the fuck away.
Oh yeah,
They were
no, they
like,
went right the other direction.
they're like, nope,
like
we're
I'm
out.
not down for this kind of a fight.
Hey, good idea.
Great. Congratulations, you avoided associating with not one but two known felons in this process.
It's okay. I was still in the Slack group, so
Oh,
you
that's
know.
right.
Yeah.
So we get pulled into this quasi-political vortex, and in short, we had to get the buy-in of the county and the state and the city in order to prove to MLS we could get the bid. FCC took the Oakley site to MLS and only that bid and won it, and we're given a you're in, but if you could get that West End spot, you're in now.
Right.
And that means get that West End spot. We were not involved in that part of it. We were involved in the get the Oakley stuff done because a lot of that funding was transferable to that West End site.
And what people forget too is that if they'd made us wait, the price of the expansion bid goes up $150 million. And then no Mercy Health Training Center, probably no team, because I think at that point the pockets would have dried up a little bit.
Yeah, there was a constant air of just existential dread
Yeah.
in this period of time.
But you know what the
that
best,
if we failed,
the best part of it was, do you remember where we used to meet our clandestine political meetings? We used to meet at the B-Dubs in Kenwood in the middle of the day. Like that was where these secret meetings were going, in a B-Dubs where it was just Sports Center and First Take playing in the background on repeat. And the three of us the group of us not looking at all suspicious, meeting and talking about what politicians we need to like lean on in order to get this deal done.
That's business.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It was nasty stuff, if I'm being honest. There was one meeting after the supporter meeting where we're discussing a lot of this. And I won't say the guy's name, but I remember he was sitting down, and you, Chief, as somebody who really knows the dark arts in a former career, after we laid out everything that needed to be done, you looked over at this kid and went, "Welcome to the dark side, kid."
This kid, I won't put his name on blast, but he was part of the college supporters group. I think they used to call themselves the
Legion.
Legion.
They were
Yeah, the
Legion
Legion.
then.
And this kid, he wasn't old enough to get into the bars when we would meet, like,
Oh, that's right.
with stuff. Like we had to fake ID him into these places to have these meetings, or I had to badge him in. But like, this kid was shook watching grown adults talk about like, well, this politician needs to be taken care of. He's like, what does that mean? It's don't worry about it, kid.
The look on his face haunts me to this day.
do you want to get into the night that you were told that it was dead?
So there's some like documentary. I forget the release of what it was.
No, this was the original release of Nonstop Flight, which a lot of people don't remember was a Spectrum Channel exclusive.
Can we not talk about nonstop flights? I'm a little triggered right now. I'm not gonna lie.
You made it here, which apparently is better than most people flying these days.
Yeah,
so.
you know, the plane landed right side up. That's a win. Come on. That's where you guys draw the line.
But it was the premiere of aforementioned documentary.
Yeah, we were
Thank you very much.
at We're at Ryan House in OTR.
Yeah. Many of us were prominently featured in this thing because we're sickos and we're in build mode. You want to do a thing? Sure, why not? Does it get us a team and not have this FCC thing die on the vine?
And the best part was Max had to do all these things because I said, I work for an elected official. I can't appear on camera. So I got to beg off of all this nonsense where it's like, hey, have a microphone shoved in front of your face and talk about how much you love the club.
And I'm a coward, so I just push it off on Max.
Hey, we'll get the brown guy who can talk good to do it. So we're all sitting here. We're about to watch this thing, and I get a phone call from political consultant who may or may not have gone to federal prison for embezzling, and not from the who knows?
Not from the stadium fund, from a congressman.
Yeah, from an congressman,
Yeah.
maybe one from the West Side. Who's
Right, but we're not going to name his name. This isn't an easily Googleable fact right now.
So
The congressman's name rhymes with Babbitt.
Leave Babbitt. So this guy calls me and goes, "Hey, pack it in, boys. We're dead." And I was like, "Hey, pardon? What?" And he said, "Yeah, deal's dead. Portune nailed it. We're cooked. It's over."
No team.
So I stone-faced walk over to Chief, Chris, a couple other guys are like, put a smile on your face, boys. It's over. And they fucked off to Japs and had a drink, and I had to
Yeah,
stand
Chief
there.
was like, "Hey, you want to go get some real drinks?" So we go over to Japs to get some cocktails.
We immediately ripped a shot. I don't recall how I got home that night.
I get a call 15 minutes later, and this guy's like, "No, we're going for it. Call everyone. Do this. We're letter bombing. We're call bombing. We're getting it done."
And we have a team.
And we have a team.
We have a team.
We have a team.
That was just one of the times it died.
Yeah, no. Every so often.
It has been a ridiculous journey, I'd say, over these last 10 years now. We're coming up on that. I want to go to Marshall here with this one because as much as I love to reminisce about the good old times, I lean on you for wisdom. I mean that truly. I'm an avid reader of your blog, to be clear.
Got it. Sorry.
You know,
It's a lot of words.
it's hit or miss. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I love it.
That's valid.
Absolutely not. No, it's very, very good. I am always reading it. I guess my question for you is like looking back on these 10 years, how do you view where we started, where we've come from? Like this is a growth as a movement, as a cultural entity in Cincinnati. I want your perspective on this.
So maybe just like two prongs to that. So one on like a kind of a serious side, which is like, because there's like some serious things that we've all done over the years that have made things. So like we're all participating in this blue and orange thing now, but it was from a lot of these little meetings that happened in spots that like no one knew anything about, and just like little moments of stubbornness, which we're really good at in Cincinnati. If we weren't, we don't have a team. Like we were not invited to be in this league, is what I often say. Like we pulled our own chair up to the table to be in this league.
Yep.
Like that is our story. And so in that way, I got involved in 2016 when I started watching that this was actually like our city felt really poorly about itself. It was off, particularly sports wise. And then like for whatever reason, like things we had come out of, but all of a sudden it was like, we were feeling good about ourselves for like a moment. It was like, oh, we could capitalize, on this moving forward. So that's, for me, that's one of the things like I put a pin in and go like, okay, we did more than just soccer stuff. Like we've done things to make our city feel good about itself and like, gathering lots of people. And then the second side of that is we are ridiculous.
That's accurate in so many ways. So, I mean, this image right here.
Yeah, we're in a
utterly
gold
ridiculous.
star in
Yeah.
Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Talk about this stuff. So
Actually, that's the most Cincinnati thing imaginable. We're eating some chili and we're talking about soccer.
my favorite ridiculous story, I think, was I was on the board with the Pride, as we were also, they helped us launch Norden. And I wake up from a Sunday afternoon nap. I had a conversation at the 2019, our first draft up in Chicago, with a former employee who's no longer an employee with the club at an Irish pub. He had done some things that he's no longer allowed himself to be an employee. But he mentioned in 2019 that they were toying with the idea that they're going to go forth with a mascot. And what did we as supporters think? And right away, I'm sitting there like, having a Guinness in Chicago, like, oh crap, this will not go well. Like, this is not going to be like a neat thing for the supporters. So anyways, we get home, they decide, yeah, we're pushing this mascot, it's going to happen. And we're like, how do we go about this whole thing? Like, without looking stupid. I wake up out of a Sunday afternoon nap and I turn on our Slack channel for the board for the Pride. And Chief has suggested that we're going to name this mascot. I believe it was you, if I get this right.
That's correct.
And what's the name going to be? Oh, his name is Gary. And immediately we all were like, yeah, his name is Gary. He didn't have a name. He wasn't even a thing yet. And we just decided, okay, everybody go out with whatever like clout you have in the interwebs and just start putting it. His name is Gary. When people argue back with you, there's no argument. It's his name. It's self-evident that he is Gary.
Why would you call him something different? That's his name.
That's actually
Come
his
on
name.
now, don't be rude.
And then I think was it the brand night where they were coming out with the brand down at
Yes.
Woodward Theater. And then Carnes, who's not here again, who just gets things done, comes with a bunch of those, stupid stickers that says "My name is," and it just says "My name is Gary." I put it on all of us, put it on players, put it on front office, put it on media people, and within a week, like Birding's like, "Well, our fans have named our new mascot. His name is Gary." So we're sometimes just massively ridiculous and stupid, and also do cool things.
Marshall, I'm so glad you brought this up. And Chief, I want you to be my witness here. I had pulled up this piece. This is from the Backheeled FC Cincinnati 2025 season preview. At the very bottom, Backheeled is an outlet that covers MLS. Good stuff. Joe Lowry, former guest on the show. But he threw in this little bit here at the end. It says, fun fact, FC Cincinnati's mascot is Gary, a lion, given his name because some sharp-eyed supporters envisioned his name spelled out in the lion's design on the club's crest. Is it a stretch? Judge for yourself. With an image posted by the one and only Joseph Mamey, everybody. Now, here's the problem. That was some post-rationalization of the name of Gary. That is not where the name Gary came from. That is the story most everybody knows. Chief, where did the name Gary come from?
Do I have to tell this one?
It needs to be on the record for once and for all.
All right. So, if you haven't picked it up yet from listening to this show, your boy the Chief is a little bit of a nerd. I mean, we did play a live episode of Dungeons and Dragons. I guess most people would probably guess that by now.
There was a U-boat name tag in the bag that I had all these
there
mics
we go,
in.
right here. So, this is the official story of how Gary got his name. And whatever you're thinking, it is far dumber than you can possibly imagine. I was profoundly hungover on a Sunday morning, having breakfast with the lovely Mrs. Chief. And nursing a hangover, we asked the question, why has the lion in the FC Cincinnati crest never had a name before? And credit to Andrew Springsteen, who was one of the greatest tifo designers that the club's ever had. I asked, does anyone know what the lion's first name is? And Springsteen, without missing a beat, chimes in and says, I don't know what his first name is, but his middle name is definitely Brought to You By. Which, no notes. So there is a character in a certain video game series. The series is called Mass Effect.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
I knew Mass Effect was in here somewhere.
Yeah, it was somewhere here. It's an alien. You can Google him. He has a weird thing on the back of his head that looks kind of spiky, like the logo for FC Cincinnati, like the lion head with there's sort of spikes on the back. The character's name is Garrus Vicarian. And so I said, he kind of looks like that, but that's way too nerdy. No one's going to go with that. Let's just call him Gary for short. So here we are. So yes, Gary the cuddly lion mascot is actually named in very much copyright infringement.
If I remember correctly, too, the Chief may or may not have fed a certain radio personality a question for one Jeffrey Birding
I
about
forgot about that.
the name Gary.
Yeah,
for
no,
the mascot.
he was doing an interview and we had someone ambush him with the question, like, I heard the mascot's name's Gary. What's your response to that?
He hated it.
And
He
Birding's like,
hated
no.
it. He was not a fan.
He was not happy about that at all.
Well, Mamey is leaving, but he designed the iconic image after hearing the name Gary. Tail is obviously a C, but I just made it a G.
Which is proof positive, and I think this is a life lesson for all of our listeners out there. If you try hard enough, you can rationalize anything after the fact. If you make yourself believe it, if you convince in your mind you see the word Gary there, Gary will emerge and guide you forward.
In a lot of ways, Gary was there the whole time.
He was there the whole time. And then, once again, I didn't name Gary. Gary, that's just his name.
That's his name.
Just his name.
That's his name. How dare anybody say you named him? Oh, man. Some good stories, some good times. Marshall, I do feel like I interrupted you in the middle of you giving your sort of perspective on this. So
I think that's just it. It's really our fanhood or our supporting is a bit of just who we are as Cincinnati. Like we're we're not going to take ourselves that seriously. So we have plenty of stories about that. And also we are like Das Harks here always saying, we are belligerently positive, right? So like the 3 years the team sucked, like sucked. We just kept showing up because you just can't push us down. That we are, you can't say anything about us that we don't already think about ourselves. So we're already there. And that's just, I think, as a fan base, as a supporter base, that just typifies us on both sides. Yeah, it's meaningful, but it's also ridiculous. And that's a good outlet for life.
I love it. Man.
And FCC's had, I don't know, I think they fell backward into a huge cache of very passionate but serious people. Like, we have a room full of longtime supporters here that have done so much for the club, showing up, being loyal, not necessarily to a product, but to an idea, honestly. And, even the man to my right who's bringing up a lot of this stuff, to put respect on his name, it's Dr. Marshall. You have a PhDs pouring what little free time they have into building community around this thing that really, and it's going to sound like I'm glazing the club, but here I am a fan of it. It's called FC Cincinnati. Cincinnati means a lot of things to a lot of people. Here we are in Northern Kentucky. To most people, this is Cincinnati. Cincinnati is something that you just kind of express personally. They wisely named the club after that. You put the long, goofy name on the crest, we're in. People from this area have always been told, like, too small, too irrelevant, too this, too that. Fuck you.
Not to put too fine a point on it.
We are getting towards the end of our time here in part one. I'll throw the bone out there to you, Max, if you want to tell either the flag story or why you joined the Pride.
I'm going to say these are one and the same, and I'm sat next to my compatriot and longtime collaborator, Jared Handra, or John Handros.
Guys, don't worry about it. I nailed it.
Yeah, it happens.
Did you screw that up when he came on?
Of course I did.
Nice.
But I said I would.
Super on brand. Super on brand.
I said
for us.
I would screw it up.
So Jared, longtime DI guy, as it were, back in the day had. I'm going to go flag first and then circle back to why I prided because of
Fine.
All right, so DI has this Toyota flag. Our first sponsor was Toyota.
The club's first sponsor was Toyota.
Sorry.
That actually is an important point.
Yes.
Our first sponsor was Cold Hard Cash because we're all bought and paid for. Everybody knows that, right?
Lawyered. Tell you the story about the Toyota flag.
The Toyota. So
Yeah.
in our Slack, it was kind of a joke that I think Chris and I were on this podcast called the John Harks Show.
Oh yeah.
Down at
Was that
Moreland.
the one in
Maybe you guys
Moreland?
were
Yeah.
also there as well. We did we hosted or we were guests on it 2 or 3 times. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that the club's just like,
I think did Tommy G run that one?
yeah, I think
think
so.
so.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, do you want to do this thing and
Right.
go on a podcast with John Harks? We're like, yeah, whatever, sure. What time?
But also remember what a ridiculous thing that would have been to say, like previous to the team being here.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, do you want to go on a podcast with like soccer legend John Harks?
Oh, not to mention after the games,
Yeah.
he would come back to Mecklenburg Gardens and be like, hey guys, what's up? And then drink 2 pints and be like, all right, guys.
All right,
Just one of the many unfathomable situations
Yeah.
we found ourselves in over the years.
Would you like to do a podcast with John Harks?
Yeah,
Sure.
Get an Uber, boys.
Can we
That's
ask?
what he always
Can we ask the Winalda question?
You want to do a podcast?
No,
What's-
it's
what's
cool.
off
It's
limits
cool
in
anyway. It's
Alexandria?
cool anyway.
Actually, I already know what's off limits. So, so we did that a couple times, and I don't know. Someone made the way that it was worded, it was like the Toyota John Harks show. So it felt like John Harks was a part of Toyota. Like he was. So someone made like a transformer.
Yeah, well, Toyota John
of a-
was what we
yeah,
called
yeah,
it.
Toyota John Harks. Yeah, so it was like a Camry, but like a transformer with John's head on it. It was weird. Well, this is what happens when you have a lot of time on your hands. So I don't know. We bought a Toyota flag just because it was funny. We were like just chanting about Toyota John the whole time there, and I don't remember all the details because in a lot of things like you're off doing something different. And then you're like, hey, this thing happened. Can you deal with it? And you're like,
So Louisville, their supporters run into an issue.
Hang on. Let me defend myself for 1 second. So
This is a great story, guys.
Hold on, Kevin. You haven't even done anything.
I know. I
Let-
just
Okay.
the week prior, just a little bit of context. Great Clips had sponsored Louisville's supporters march into the stadium, and the supporters were not a part of that decision. The club sold the sponsorship for the march. All right, continue.
Yeah, so that. And also the club, well, a certain local brewery had also tried to insert their flag into our march. Things were on high alert. So Kevin's in a march, and this Toyota flag floats around, and it's handed to Kevin, who goes, sponsor, throws it,
I believe the kids say yeet.
yeets it.
It was heated.
Yeets it into Marge Schott Stadium.
yeah, it's in the baseball.
It went into the baseball stadium.
Yeah, and no one in the moment knew why on earth this dude did that.
Yeah, it was like from the outside looking in, it was a psycho move. It's like, here, why'd you wave the flag? Have a good time. Okay. Wham.
And
I think I was vice president at this time, but this was also the first day I convinced Kevin Wallace to write an article on the PrideCincy.com.
Don't worry, I'll represent you well.
In an official capacity, the same day he throws DI's flag onto Marge
Toyota
Schott
Johns.
Field.
Yeah. And I think, Chris, actually, I think we were walking together. Like, we were trying to, at that point, we were trying to figure out where the march was going, right? And the whole reason we had the march was just because we had to, right? Like, we were like, we'll just
had to
find
go
a
from
place
our
to meet up
places
and
to
we'll
the
walk
stadium.
together. Cool. And then, so that kind of morphed into, you're on the sidewalk, you're in the road, or, whatever, right? So, like, we were doing something just to make sure, like, people downstream are ready for a bunch of idiots kind of walking down the field.
Right.
And then, I get like a text or something like, hey, like, someone just threw the Toyota flag onto the field. Can you deal with it? I'm like, how am I supposed to deal with that?
Right.
Do you want me to
Hop
jump
the fence and get the flag back?
Yeah. I don't know if we ever got it back, but I think we did. But
It'd be really funny if it was still like in the clubhouse for
Or it's
UC
like that-
baseball.
I think it was pretty quickly that I got word that it was Kevin.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You kidding
So
me?
do we.
The first day I get this dude to do something in official capacity for the Pride, he does this.
You're
so
welcome.
I go to Kevin. I'm like, dude, you have to apologize, like somehow. and you wrote an email.
I typed up an email. So I had a Mac Mini at the time that did not work very well. It was a lemon basically. I got it for free from somebody who said this doesn't work, and I was like, it's a Mac. I'm sure it'll work. It was garbage. It did not work. So I typed up a nice little email and then turned the computer off. And it turns out that email never sent.
Yeah. How many years was
Still
it?
waiting on that email.
No. So this is
Still
the best part. I turned it on like a year later, and I heard, "Whoo!" What was that?
I think I kind of remember that. And we're like, yeah, that tracks.
I went to a few times. Like, did he reach out to you?
They were like, nah, no. No.
I tried.
I mean, that's kind of a long list. Like, that was always the thing, right? It's like, we would just find ways to just misinterpret things and piss each other off.
And
It's
then-
like a logbook,
We'd
right?
meet at a bar, and within
Oh my
5
God.
minutes, we were fine.
Yeah,
until the
oh,
next thing.
yeah.
And then we'd meet at a bar.
We've
and
all
5
died on a weird hill in some way about something stupid. Like, I know I was so set on making sure we had like enough pizza for the first Hell is Real in Columbus. And we were like arguing over how many pizzas we should order, and just like, just order the fucking pizza.
Yeah. The answer was my entire Jeep Patriot with the back seat.
And it wasn't enough, was it?
No, it was
I'm
not
just
enough.
saying.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Justice for Jared.
Hey, I've been holding on to that one for a long time. I've been out of the game for a while, but I didn't forget.
Oh God.
So this establishes a little bit of Kevin's wild nature. You all know him to be the
chaotic.
calm, even-keeled person he is.
False.
I'm actually sitting at the table with several of the people who are present for this. So, Kevin, before he's really involved in the Pride, takes to Reddit because I think he and a couple of friends, maybe even a brother-in-law, go to book a spot on a bus that the Pride organized.
It was me and my good buddy Andrew Prentovic.
Yeah.
And we were the only two people on there besides like a family of 5.
Yeah. We chartered an entire bus to Louisville and then forgot to promote it. Which
Because
is
also
super-
at that time we had the Plastic Cup where we played Louisville
Yeah, so everybody-
supporters. Everyone headed down to
Hey.
Louisville, not on the bus.
DI bus. It was full.
No.
It was full.
People don't forget that sort of thing.
So Kevin had a bit of a gripe from that leading into.
And
I
100%
think a fair gripe again.
in the
You
early
had the whole
days.
bus to yourself. What you want to be on a plane where they're bumping people off it?
Are you okay?
No, I'm not.
A little close?
I'm not.
And in the early days, to be quite honest, like DI was lapping the Pride.
That's accurate.
So we come to this meeting, but not before that. Kevin takes to Reddit and writes what I can only describe as a manifesto,
It's accurate.
tearing down every aspect of the Pride. I mean, just absolutely feeding them plates of shit. It's incredible.
This was the day the chief learned that Reddit has a character limit per comment
Yeah.
and had to break it up.
Who knew?
Used to work for the government. I had some free time on my hands, and I had some thoughts in response to Mr. Wallace.
So it wrapped up in this back and forth is, well, we're having this open meeting. Please come and voice your concerns in person. And he did.
Yeah, no, it's the first person in the history of the internet to where you finish your comment off with, well, meet me in public and say that to my face. You won't. Dude showed up. And now I'm hosting a podcast with him.
Wait, there was one other little piece. I haven't been able to track it down, but I think it was like Cincinnati Soccer Talk episode 3, where Brian reads like part of my comments on Reddit, calls out the username, and says like, whoever this is disgusting and is like ruining this fan base.
I want to note that Kevin deleted all of his comments.
I did.
So,
I felt bad.
just sad.
So this dude
Stand by your words.
This dude shows up in person, and I come to this meeting because I tripped over the Pride. I saw Darren at the front of one of their pictures. I had to meet him. So I'm like, I like Chance. My brother always told me, don't let your opinions outweigh your input. So I thought, well, I better show up and start doing stuff. Oops. So I'm at this meeting, and I'm like, oh, guys, I want to help make Chance. How do I do that? This Kevin guy rolls in. I hear all this going on about stuff he's been saying on Reddit. My man shows up in person, reiterates it all, and I'm
Oh
seated.
yeah, reads it right to our face too, which was great. Like it was bad enough getting called out on the internet. This internet troll shows up and also in a room full of people also calls us losers that are wasting our time.
So I'm
I also
seated.
said you were wasting our money too.
That's actually true as well.
I'm seated next to Chief here, and Chief leans over to the president at the time, one Payne Rankin, and says, "We got to get this guy closer to the organization." And I was like, "What? These people roll like this? This man says it to his face."
Yeah,
and
something
then
about tense and relieving yourself
Yeah.
in certain
Yes.
directions, whether you're in
rather
or
have
out.
the guy
Yeah.
pissing in the tent out rather than out the tent in. And I
yeah.
said, you know what? If this is how these guys treat people who defecate in their faces, I'm in. I like that. I'm a public school guy.
Yeah, Lyndon Johnson, full of wisdom for the youth even today.
I remember at the end of the meeting too, asking Kevin what he wanted to do,
Oh yeah.
how to be involved. He's like,
Complain.
I want to go to the front office meetings. I was like,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
I'm dreamboarding.
Slow down.
I got there. Oh God. Well, on that note, I do think we need to take a little bit of a break. I want to say thank you to all of our former SG leaders and is anybody current SG leaders here for coming out and swapping some stories?
Yeah,
Ooh, please.
one last question. Can I ask Jared a question I've been dying to ask forever?
Oh,
Yeah.
let's do it.
The march from Rheingeist to Nippert Stadium.
Yes.
Great idea or greatest idea?
I'm afraid to say the answer because that was Ryan Lammy's idea.
I don't care.
So
You only have two choices, great or greatest.
okay, so it's the greatest idea.
That is-
But like that encapsulates DI in a nutshell especially when Ryan's the one that founded it, started it and everything, right? And I remember the first TIFO we did, he was just like, yeah, it's cool, but we should do it bigger. Go bigger. And like that was always his thing, right? It was like it was the most ridiculous stuff. And then it turned out to be really good ideas.
What was that? What was going through your mind? So like, for people that don't know, can you explain what the original plan was for? Because we all know the march right now.
Yeah.
We all know what the march looked like at Nippert. What was the initial plan for Dienenstadt's march to Nippert Stadium?
I mean, you pretty much saw it.
Well, no, I mean, Think of the listener out there right now who's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
picked up-
okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm not a podcast person, so
Yeah,
I don't,
no,
I've never
we're
done.
bringing-
I've never been on
this-
this side of
right.
it, right? So,
This is called bringing the audience in.
all right, let's bring you guys in. Okay, so it was our first game ever, right? And we wanted to basically we were at Ryan Guys starting there, and that was kind of our home bar at the time.
Ryan Geiston over the Rhine,
And over the Rhine,
down the hill.
because at the time, yes, there was only one down the hill. And then there's the steps up to Ohio Avenue, which actually I lived at the top of Ohio Avenue. So I was like, great, this is awesome.
Love this plan.
I'll just walk
right
right
by my
down the
house.
steps. Yeah. I wouldn't normally do that on any other day, but a group of people, sure. Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, our goal was basically do pregame things at Rheingeist down at OTR, walk up the steps, and then walk all the way to Nippert, which we did once for obvious reasons. And that includes the pit stop at my house because people were dying on the way out. And I was like, hey, does anyone need to use the restroom? Need some water? What do you guys need? And yeah, we stopped there. And I don't know if it was Ryan or if it was Bob or somebody had a handle of 4 roses. And we were just shooting this 4 roses out of the bottle in my front yard in Clifton, which was not the first time that's probably happened. But at that point, I was like, all right, yeah, this thing's sticking around. This is cool. So yeah, we did it once. We didn't have the greatest relationship with Ryan Guys. They didn't really accommodate as much as we were kind of hoping for.
They were probably looking at you guys like you were insane. Like, you're walking to where?
Yeah, we were 2 years ahead of the curve before they decided to support the team. So
Right, that's absolutely true.
I feel vindicated in that, right? But then Mecklenburg Gardens reached out and were like, hey, we're closer. You don't have to walk up these steps. You can just come from Quarryville, which is probably just as far, but maybe
We're actually
further.
at a slightly higher elevation.
Yeah, we're like,
it's
oh.
all downhill.
It's less elevation change. I'm in. So yeah, after that, I mean, Mecklenburg was the perfect spot for us. So
Yeah.
So
Yep.
good. I'm just so happy that some people did that march.
yeah, I gotta find the I'll see if I can find the pictures. But I look back sometimes and I'm like, yeah, these people were there the first time, and I still see some of them today. But if I don't see them today, I've seen them over the years, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, you were there.
Yeah,
You're
they
OG.
made it.
They made it. Yeah, they made it up the hill.
They're still standing somehow.
Maybe.
Look at what that's become.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that just like a little choice back then in 2016 turns into this massive thing that families and people are like, this is what we do. We're known for globally for that thing. Because you guys were stubborn one day in 2016.
It's gonna go to Lammy's head. You better stop.
He ain't listening.
It's fair.
Oh my God! No, you guys, you've been amazing. Let's give it up for our supporters groups, leaders, current, former, past, future.
You never get out. It's like,
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
absolutely. All right, we are back. Hopefully, everybody enjoys their gorrito with spaghetti that was able to be delivered to the tables.
Can we get a round of applause for everyone that's giving us free Go-Ritos tonight?
Oh my God.
If you're looking forward to a Go-Rito, let's clap it up in here. This rules.
It's delicious.
This truly is dreams come true.
Oh my
as far
God.
as a Cincinnati-based podcast is concerned.
No doubt.
This is-
This is the best.
I've had some moments in my life, but I'm considering putting this on the Mount Rushmore of moments in my life.
No, this is like the real life LeBron meme. Like, can't believe this my life.
That's exactly how I feel
Suffering
right now.
from success.
In a lot of ways, Chris Albright is feeling that way as well.
Wow.
Boom.
What a transition.
Boom.
Nailed.
That's why
Nailed
they
the
pay
transition.
me Doritos, baby.
Wow. Man.
No, this offseason was definitely the most, I think is the most dramatic in FC Cincinnati history.
The most electrifying offseason in FC Cincinnati history.
Funny enough, the one that I think competes with it was the aforementioned Toyota John being unceremoniously fired hours before they left for
I was gonna
preseason.
say, yeah, it was before they even left for Florida, right? Because
Right.
obviously we always go to Florida for preseason.
Right.
but,
That's what we do.
yeah, that was a wild one too. And
Yeah.
that was kind of too. I mean, I think USL is still kind of this way, but there was years where you weren't sure who was coming back, right? So you
Right.
get a roster down to 5 or 6 people, right? And you're like, well, hopefully some of them come back, right?
Well, that was when word came out that John's coaching style was pretty much just vibes. He just told the
go out
guys
there
to
and
kind
score
of
some
go
goals,
out and
man.
do their thing.
Yeah. You're pros.
He was also essentially the GM at the time, if I understand correctly. And if stories are to be told and they are true, GB and Mansoray, both of those signings were kind of up in the air while he went on vacation.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason they let him go. Also, I'm told he did not return his team jacket.
John was here for a good time, not a long time.
I mean, to be fair, it's a soccer team jacket. Unless they were hiring ananother JH. I don't know what kind of
Hey,
news.
they could have gave it to me. Okay, I've been saying this for years, man. I've been looking for that jacket. It's my initials. I knew Ryan Martin, the assistant coach. His stuff was on eBay.
Yeah. Koch's ended up at a Goodwill. So that was floating around there for a little bit. Some AK jackets floating around the
So if you're
Goodwill.
an FC Cincinnati fan, we learned thrift shopping. Sometimes you find some good stuff there.
Sometimes you can break some news, I
Yeah,
guess,
apparently.
depending on when that showed up. But definitely one of the most dramatic off seasons in FC Cincinnati history. And I think, you know, we've talked about like the emotional connection to this team and to the club. I think this is a very awkward one for saying goodbye to Lucho Acosta. I think it's fair to say, in his playing time at Cincinnati, the best FC Cincinnati player we have ever had. It will be tough to top him, although if anybody's going to do it, someone on this roster right now is probably poised to do it. But I don't know if one of you want to jump in. I'm going to be a bad podcast host and just throw it out to 4 people to see who wants to jump in first. But emotionally, how do you process a star player like Lucho Acosta leaving the club like this? Get in there, Chris. Get in there, Chris.
I think there are many things that you can get away with in Cincinnati. There's things that we will, overlook, and again, we don't take ourselves that seriously. The one thing that is like what you can't do is diss Cincinnati, right? Like you can't say like I want to be with you all, the full page ad, and like you're my family too. I got other things I'm thinking about. I'm not interested in being around. Like that is amongst our sicknesses as a people, like that's really high on our list of things that probably aren't okay. So I think we're all ready with the roster that's in front of us, being like, let's move on, let's go win a cup. However, that is not going to sit like incredibly well. But at the same time, he did deliver for us in ways that, as we went going back to those first 3 years where we sucked with Lucho, we didn't.
Yeah.
Like we went and did things. We celebrated at those buses at 2 a.m. A couple years ago for the Shield. Like what a night that was. And he was a huge part of that. He's a good guy. Looks like he made some PR problems for himself and the rest of us this
I
offseason.
appreciate how diplomatically that was put.
However, he kind of did I want to say the unforgivable things. I think we're ready to forgive and move on. But that's going to be a stick in our crawl for a bit.
You maybe wonder here. So like, if you're a Harry Potter fan, there's 3 unforgivable curses, right?
Yes.
What are the 3 unforgivable curses of Cincinnati? Like number 1 is obviously, I want to leave Cincinnati or I hate Cincinnati. What would 2 and 3 be of like the most unforgivable Cincinnati curses? I don't like the chili. That's
Don't
got to
like
be.
the chili.
Don't like the
That's
chili is
tough.
number 1. Number
That's
2
tough
right
to
there.
bounce back from.
What would?
I would say maybe not liking the chili, that they even haven't tried it,
Oh, I
or they
haven't tried
won't
it.
try it.
They won't try it.
If you try
the
it,
won't trying it. That's a good point.
yeah, like I get it. I go to
Sure.
Pittsburgh and I'm like, I don't want French fries on my sandwich. It's fine.
Hermani Brothers is pretty good.
I had a bad day there then.
Real quick on that point, since we're in the house of chili, I think
Whoa.
I saw.
Hang on.
Hey,
Chili House is a completely separate.
You cannot
entity.
just drop Chili House on us.
House of we are
okay.
of we are
Thank
House
you.
of Chili. How dare you? I think I saw Shwy of JTM fame at some point. Don't know if he's still here.
He is. He's waving at the bar.
I'm gonna co-sign
Mash Bill out now on Spotify and Apple Music.
wherever you find your music. He made a fantastic point in the Discord. I don't know how long ago, but this Macedonian bolognese that we all know and love so much if this were to be popularized by a coastal town, it would have been celebrated from sea to shining sea. But instead, it's here in lowly old tri-state area. And thus, it's a weird oddity. Nay, you are a xenophobe if you have a problem with this food.
Preach.
And I don't think it makes any sense to center your personality around being weirded out by ethnic food. Kind of a weak take, man.
Low-key problematic, too.
Seriously.
Problematic.
In 2025, I know maybe we're going reverse in some ways, but we should be expanding our horizons.
Exactly right.
Oh, preach. What is the third unforgivable sin there? Does anybody have an idea if you want to shout one out? I can't think of one.
I hate high school football.
Yeah, if you ask, where did you go to school? And they tell you Ohio State. You're like, all right, get out of here.
When somebody asks you east side or west side, you're like, I live kind of in the middle.
Get out of
Okay,
here.
Norwood, pick a side, all right?
I'm super annoyed when people when they leave especially, and then someone go, oh, where are you from? Ohio. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're not from Ohio.
You're from Cincinnati.
Correct. The Republic of Cincinnati.
You know what the answer to this question used to be, but we can't give this answer anymore.
Uh-oh.
Pete Rose shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. I mean, give it time.
Can I say with our history of nines, walking on the pitch at any point and not sprinting constantly?
That's it.
Seems
Honestly,
to bring out some
I
takes.
hate it so much, but that's perfect. Not hustling.
Yeah.
Actually, not hustling. And just in general, like it obviously applies to sports, but in general, I don't want
Cincinnati,
you to be
city
the
of
best
hustlers.
employee.
Just hustle.
Hustle a little bit.
Hustle a little bit. We say that as a podcast that dropped down to one episode a week during the off season.
Not hustling.
Not hustling. No.
But speaking of nines, like this team in 2025 broke the MLS transfer record at the time, and it was able to go out and bring in a guy, Kevin Denke, who was being pursued by, romanced by the Premier League, the Bundesliga, Ligue 1, and he chose us. He chose Cincinnati. And despite the weird, awkward offseason that they had, I think eventually they got around to building a hell of a team around him. I guess I'll look at you, Max, here. In the history of nines, how hyped are you when you put them in context?
Look,
If you said 9 right there, that would have been really funny. Scale of 1 to 10, 9.
I have 10 minutes later wit, so I'm nowhere near fast enough to make that joke. I have a long and storied history of certain feelings about our number 9s. They seem to track a consistent trajectory, especially insofar as their reception from the fans. I'm just going to say it out loud. A lot of black guys getting called lazy by the fandom, and it sits real weird with me. So I'm very excited for this young fellow to be running around, hustling, if we will. That's why I hated that take, but it is accurate. What I really want to know out of Kevin Denke, and I'm going to make it weird. I am full of Garrido with spaghetti in this fine Gold Star establishment. How do you get a physique like that when you ain't eat no meat, man?
He is a vegan.
He is a vegan, and that guy is shredded.
Good time to point out. Vegetarian 3-way here. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Best vegetarian chili in the city, bar none.
I'd
Very
co-sign
good
on that.
vegetarian 3-way here.
It's not even a controversial take.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, it's a big splash.
I forgot what we were talking about.
We splashed a ton of cash on this guy. If rumors are to be believed, many other clubs reached out to FCC or at least commented on this take. We didn't know he was an option to bring to this league.
Right.
Such as the endeavor of one Chris Albright and Hunter Freeman. Hunter Freeman. Wild name for a guy who acquires players and brings them across the Mason-Dixon line to play.
Wow.
Look, man, my last name is Ellerby. You're just gonna get some particular takes.
So I guess my question to this would be, as he quickly changes the subject.
My surname is a purchase receipt. That's what I'm talking about. It's Black History Month, bro. You're gonna have to deal with it.
You definitely meant to say chief.
My bad.
Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody
Next.
cares anyway.
Got nuts in here.
I never
What?
thought of it that way.
Jared, take the mic from me, please.
I guess the biggest question is, was the drama worth it this offseason? Does the end result justify how the process ended up at this point?
I think we're going to find out a lot on Wednesday on whether it's worth it. I am excited. It seems very good on paper. It seems like I'm excited for post Lucho ball. Lucho, it was a lot of Allen Iverson ISO at the top, and just everyone watching him see what he was going to do. Evander seems to be a lot more one pass, make a move, flow between guys. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I had a pretty strong reaction. I think this could have gone on way longer and been way worse.
Yep.
Like the situation we had, which was, I'll say it, like one of the best transfer windows I think MLS has ever had in terms of the players that the league brought in and also the drama. Like this was like the cash for player thing, like, chef's kiss. But looking at the situation and where players ended up and kind of the shuffle, I mean, it could have gone a lot worse. Lucho, for a second, I wasn't sure that he was even going to go, right? Then we're going to the summer. He's limping through the summer. And not
Thanks
really
for coming
playing.
out tonight. Listen to the postcast.
Yeah, and I think, like, Chris, I think, like you said, like, Evander's a very different type of 10. Like, if you look
too.
at... You
Post Cincy.
If you look at Lucho's numbers versus, or like his heat map of where he plays versus where Evander does, like Lucho wants to just be on it all the time, right? Whereas Evander's more of like, we've got Obi, we've got Buka, right?
Yep.
Like they're going to be able to do their jobs, win the ball back, bring it up, and shuttle it more to where Evander's at. And Evander's obviously got a different profile to him, which I'm excited for.
Yep.
Maybe we'll be good at corners and free kicks.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Like that was one of my huge aha was sitting there on our Norton Discord going through. I was like, hold on, guys, hold on. No more Lucho corner kicks. Like actually, those might become dangerous again. Like that was a huge moment in my day when I realized that.
half of Evander's like highlights were like free kick, PK,
Yes,
corner.
yes.
God, thank you.
And he can score from distance.
Imagine,
way out.
imagine you're the center back. You get a corner, Lucho stands over the ball.
Oh,
Brutal.
Yeah. You know, Miazga wasn't shy about saying some stuff in the locker room either. It's like, bro, I'm enormous. Just kick the ball here.
hit me.
Get it over the first defender.
The one guy with a little bit of pace. I'm not greedy.
Evander's going to be so much fun.
Evander is going to be so much fun. Second question to the esteemed panel we have here. Whose team is it?
Oh.
Cincinnati's.
Hey. Okay, now which player?
Now,
No,
which
but
player?
I do think like Chris, like you said, it's going to be a shift, right? Like it was Lucho's team, and I do think that I'm hoping at least that it's a more balanced approach where players feel like they have to take on more of that role, and not just rely on, like you said,
Yeah,
someone,
I mean, they're
someone
gonna,
just balling out.
they're
you
gonna
know?
have. I mean, we've seen what this team looks like last year without Lucho, and they floundered a bit, lacked a bit of creativity. So they're all gonna have to figure things out on their own too, and find a way to be creative up top.
I gotta think this ends up being either Robinson or Miazga's team, right? I mean, I think Miazga's really outspoken. He's got the experience. He's I mean, you always saw him barking orders when he was in the back line. And hopefully maybe that if that happens, hopefully the responsibility of the armband maybe tempers some of his.
I mean,
other-
on the positive side, if they give him the armband, the ref has to listen to him.
That's true.
Like he can't get a yellow for dissent if he's got the armband,
Didn't
right?
work for Yedlin though.
I was gonna say it would seem like Yedlin would be a good
Yeah.
person for the armband in the sense of his experience and his composure. But I think Matty he's the alpha. We also noticed last year without Matt, we weren't that team. Like
No.
we came down a few spots, and it's like kind of the old E.F. Hutton principles. Like when the real leader speaks, people listen. That's Matty, but don't give him the armband.
Right.
And I'm a Philly guy. He's a Jersey guy. I get it. Also, don't give me the armband.
It's like
Yeah.
everybody's a G till a real G enters the room.
Exactly.
Who's taking the PKs?
Fantastic question.
I would say Evander, but I don't like. Has Denke scored a bunch of PKs? I think he scored a few from what I've seen.
Yeah.
but
I think it's
I
Evander's
think
would
so,
be my
too.
guess. He's as far as I can tell, he's as good at free kicks as we've seen anybody. Seeing Evander and Luca stand over a ball 30 yards out is going to be
That's got to be
dangerous.
terrifying, right? Like you're gonna have some people making business decisions on the wall with those two guys right there.
I think from the highlights I've seen too, Evander seems to be pretty straightforward with his run up on PKs, unlike his compatriot Sergio Santos, who tiptoes up to the ball.
Right. Woof. None of that.
I also think, I'm glad you brought up Santos because I've been thinking about this. We saw over the last couple of years some emotional support Argentines brought in for Lucho. And I know some people have questioned Sergio Santos on this roster. Yeah, me too. As an emotional support Brazilian, though, it's maybe worth it.
A pretty expensive one.
Those vibes are so good. So again, Santos doesn't score a lot of goals for being a man paid to score goals, but he was also not one who scored a lot of goals in Philly. But when Santos left Philly, there was a full-on player revolt. They were furious. They were talking about like guys quitting on the team because Santos left. Like they were.
I mean, have you seen what they pay people in Philly? Like vibes are really important there. It's the cheapest team in MLS. Santos leaves. It's like, why am I showing up for work?
That's my best friend. The
Right.
only reason why I came in.
Paying me minimum wage and you fired the coolest guy on my shift?
It still blows my mind that Philly is going to break their all-time transfer record this offseason, and it is for a man that will cost less than Isaac Atanga did to come into Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was roughly $3 million?
Yep.
Big spenders.
Couldn't be us.
On that Santos topic, I am excited to see later in games, prospectively, when he comes on, how that works with Evander. Because Santos, what he was good at, is really creating chaos with his speed and his power, getting the ball or creating some sort of mess for their defense to have to clean up. And I feel like Evander's movement and how he dishes the ball off rather than trying to dribble the entire team is going to really put us in a good position with guys like Denke and Orishano, prospectively, further forward.
So this is a question for the old heads here. Are we certain we have a Portuguese interpreter for these guys?
For what it's worth, Evander, very fluent in English.
There we go.
Like almost no accent fluent in English. So good times to be had. One final thing here around the table. Where does this team finish in the East? I don't need you in the supporter shield. I need you. Where do they finish?
Where do
in
they
the
finish?
East?
And what, if any, trophies do they win?
Okay.
That might include things not related to their schedule and their finishing in the East.
Probably relates to the schedule.
Whatever. I've had a long day.
I mean, I'm going to be, I'm massively homering right now this week. Like, I think this whole thing has come together in a genius way that wasn't there last week with the trepidation of everything. I don't know if anybody's got a better roster than we do. I don't think no one does. I'll just state that. So therefore, we are definitely a top 2 team in the East. We're going to be up there for the points. So that should come as well with a couple of trophies. Which ones? I want the cup. I want the MLS Cup. I want to raise. I want to drink out of that puppy at the end of the season.
You're allowed to clap for that.
Yeah,
You're allowed to
Clap
clap
for a cup win.
You're not jinxing anything.
And it also should be pretty, right? I think our offensive flow, once we figure that out with them, because Orishano up top, he was not a good defender. I mean, him and Barrio both, they were adequate at best. So now just put him where he likes to be. In my opinion, he has Almada-like ceiling. Like he is there, which means we might not have him very long, which is fine. So I think, definitely a top 2 team in the East. The East has gotten better. I like our depth, and there should be 2 cups coming our way, but we want the big one that left us in 2023.
Bless.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo you and say I think top 2 in the East is where I think we land. I think we're a much more balanced team going into this season. We were very, very Lucho focused. Pros and cons with that.
Yeah,
he did a lot of magic. He made a lot of magic for us.
Yep,
he was always good. He could force a goal a game if we needed one. He would find it. I think they're way more balanced this season, top to bottom. I'm hot take. I would like us to win MLS Cup.
What?
You don't say.
If you want to sell a lot of jerseys, you sell a jersey with a star above the crest after an MLS Cup. So yeah, that's that. Of course, I wouldn't mind the Shield coming back. I know Chief had to do a little bit of babysitting last time we had it. Since the supporters maintained
it survived.
It hung out in your living room for a little while.
Yeah, you know, back of the car for a little bit too.
So I don't know if those in charge of the supporters groups want to deal with the supporter shield again, but yeah, I think
Beautiful.
I think comfortably top 2 in the East.
Beautiful. Max, what do you got for us?
I'm in the same place. I think it's going to depend on, frankly, what happens with Miami. They're just always so damn stacked. I'm going to make a bold, nonsensical prediction that as successful as our transfer window has been now, I suspect we have a terrifyingly amazing move in the summer that's going to make us even more powerful.
Wow.
I think if you give Albright a checkbook and time to cook and maybe have other guys talk to people and make it nice, I think we'll do well. So I think we're going to breeze to the playoffs. I think we're going to be fighting with Miami, and I do think we're going to win that damn cup.
Christian Pulisic, put it down now. Golden Boot winner. He's winning it all for us. Jared, what do you got for us?
I think I'll echo pretty much what you guys have said. I don't know, maybe top 2, top 3. I think Miami will struggle this year a little bit. I think if you look at their roster past Argentinians, it's mostly just youth players, right? They have a really good academy, don't get me wrong, but like once that we saw that last year where people start going out injured and the holes really start to show. We were talking about Vibes FC, that they are Vibes FC right now. There's a lot going on there. So I think top 2. I think we win the cup. I think we have a good run at Trillium Cup this year with Toronto and Columbus. Yeah, I think we'll
That's
take
a very
that one.
DI take, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, make the Trillium Cup thing real. Yeah. So we want the cup. We want the Trillium Cup. So no, I think that. And are we even going to bother talking about Leagues Cup? Because I don't think. Does anyone actually care?
I don't understand the format, and I know the format. So like, I don't understand what's happening.
I have enough MLS rules in my brain. I do not need any other.
I don't need like a cross Swiss league thing. I got nothing.
I'm just mad I have to pay for that first ticket.
I forgot to opt out in every ticket. I was like,
Yep. Same here.
Oh God, Chief, are we making predictions now? Or should we wait until we have Grayson?
Kevin, what do you think?
Let's make them.
All right. Well, I made some predictions earlier. I on the internet. I don't know why I said that, guys. I think FC Cincinnati wins the Supporter Shield. I think we also win MLS Cup. I think this team wins both of them. I do not think they win anything else, but I will throw this out there. I think the 2 team makes an Open Cup quarterfinal. How's that? That's a really bad prediction, but I'm throwing it out there.
Right.
They fired like the whole team in the offseason.
they got stomped by Lexington on
It was like
Saturday as well.
6-0, 5-0.
5-0,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so it's the start of the DVD where it's like things are bad and we build from that point
Yeah,
forward.
the magic of the cup.
It's a problem that I knew that happened and still made that prediction.
So here's how I see the season going. We are going to make the finals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup
Wow.
and lose. We are going to win the Leagues Cup.
Sure.
We're going to come in second in the Shield, and we're going to win MLS Cup.
I'll take it.
That sounds like an exhausting season.
I know, right?
Oh my God.
That's just a lot of soccer right there. That's a lot of soccer. You ready for a lot of soccer?
Woo!
I was looking at one person. Her reaction was tepid at best.
Couple of minutes here, and then we will let you get back on with your life, with your day, with your evening.
But you're going to be happy you stuck around because what we're going to do right here, we're welcoming up to the table. You hear his music every time you turn in to the Cincy PostCast. If you've ever wondered what he looks like, Mark Schwykowski from Jim Trace and the Makers. We call him
Hello.
Shwy because Schwykowski is too damn hard to spell.
Yeah, I get it. It took me a while as a kid too, like truly.
That is so mean.
Like cursive class,
it's
like
awful.
everyone would have, John Smith, easy. It took me to like 7th grade to get my name right.
That's Polish discrimination is what
Yeah,
that
big
is right
time,
there.
big time.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk to Shwy a little bit here. We have him up here because today is the release day for Jim Trace and the Makers' new album, Mash Bill, available
Yes.
wherever you get your music. After we talk to Shwy for a second, he's going to join us in answering some questions from the audience. So if you want to ask a question,
Love it.
we have the mic set up right here. We'll do that, and then we'll get you guys out of here. But Shwy, I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Album is phenomenal. Kept me company on a very, very long travel day
Yeah.
today. So thank you for releasing that.
I know.
Um,
We could have made it a lot worse, so I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, because
and so you guys have a live show coming up on Friday, correct?
yes, that's correct. Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
the people about the live show.
Absolutely, would love to. First off, I just want to thank you guys for using our music. Like, it's very cool. It's a little surreal every time I tune in and I hear these songs. So thank you. It's really, really cool. And having me on. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th time I've been on, and it's always a pleasure talking with you. So. Yeah, we just released our newest album 10 years after our first. We're on this a 10-year pace, which is, I think, pretty good.
Yeah.
An album every 10 years, Scarcity, the law of scarcity, right?
Get people really excited.
Exactly.
Really, really asking for more. Get the market.
No more,
demand.
no less, though. No more, no less. 10 years. But yeah, we came out with it today. We're very, very excited. And we're going to be doing an album release show on Friday at Northside Tavern. And we've played there a bunch over the years, and if you guys have been there, Northside Tavern's one of the best spots for local music, and we're very, very stoked to be playing there. Playing with 2 bands, the Loreleis, which is like a folk duo, and then a jam rock band, the Electric Indigo, and they're so good. I almost didn't want to ask them to play because it's just like, you guys are so much better than us. This is going to overshadow everything, but they're incredible, like very incredible.
Will I enjoy the music of the Loreleis if I don't really watch Gilmore Girls?
I think you will. I think you will.
Curious, where do you record this album?
So we did it in 2 different places. There's a studio up in Fairfield, Moonlight Studios, and it's a guy by a name of Eric, like Tuffins. I don't know his last name. Really good guy. Records out of his garage. He does a lot of the local bands around here. A lot of local bands have used him. Awesome dude. He did about 3 or 4 songs. So we released some singles like two or 3 years ago. And then when we committed to doing the album, we actually decided to do it in house. And so Austin, who's our lead singer, we just recorded in his attic. So like super bare bones. And it was a lot of just like days going over there and listening to myself sing 1,000 times over again. And it was terrible. And I was telling Chief, I've been listening to these songs for like 4 months on repeat and like just giving notes, and like we've been tinkering with them. So to get them out there was like kind of vomit inducing today. But it seems like the reception's been pretty good, and we're just like very, very happy to kind of have it behind us a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited because now I get like some new bumper music to pick
Yeah,
from.
right.
What's your favorite song off the new album?
Oh, it's like asking what's one of your favorite kids. I don't know.
Everyone has a favorite. Everyone has a favorite kid. They don't tell you, but everyone has a favorite.
I'm a big fan of Western Wind is a song that we released. It's very indie folk, very leaning into the harmonies, and I really like that song. And then there's a song called "And Moon" that we we wrote and recorded on a Sofar. You guys familiar with like Sofar sounds? Like there's like
No.
it's a YouTube channel, and they do shows literally all over the globe. And they did one in Cincinnati, and we were invited to play. And we played a song called "And Moon" that we literally had written like a week before. And we're like, let's just do something stupid and play this song. We literally have never played it, and then we shelved it. And then we brought it back for this album. So like we brought it back after like 8 or 9 years. It's kind of been like a bit of a white whale. We haven't been able to record it right. And we finally feel like we nailed it. So I would say Western Wind and Moon are my 2 favorite songs.
So there's what you got to check out there. So available wherever you get your music, correct?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, and then we are doing physical CDs as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I've heard cassettes are back. Are cassettes becoming a thing again? No. Finals for sure.
I would love a cassette
Someone was
tape.
trying to convince. We went on a radio show last week, and the host was like, "You guys doing cassettes?" I was like, "This is not 1983. I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "No, they're coming back."
Right. It'd be like somebody telling you, like, "Oh no, really? You MP3s on floppy disk."
Yeah.
That's what the people yearn for a floppy disk.
Well, I was kind of like, I feel like you're a guy that ordered way too many cassettes, and you're trying to get them back. Like, no, dude, cassettes are back for sure.
big
As there's like
cassette.
boxes of cassettes behind him, he's like trying to keep them up.
It's like you find out he's actually manufacturing tape decks now. Like, I need a market for this.
Yeah.
Jeez. I'd actually heard that they cannot manufacture cassette tape players as good as they could in the past. Like the technology in the factories got all switched over. We literally do not have the equipment to make it.
If that's not a sure science society is dwindling. I don't know what is.
I'm ashamed to admit this. When I cleaned my office out after I got the old heave-ho, I found a box of cassette tapes that was like evidence on a previous case.
Oh really?
Wonder what happened to that guy.
Did the label say like true innocent proving evidence?
Oh no!
It's like that scene in The Naked Gun. Joe's file, he was innocent.
The smoking gun. Oh God.
Oh, here it was.
So, Shwy, would you be interested in being on the panel as we answer some
I
questions?
would love to be. Yeah.
All right, so we have a microphone set up here. If anyone wants to come up and be brave enough to ask a question, anything.
It can be anything.
It could be FCC or otherwise. There we go.
FCC does.
Why
make
does folk
sense.
music suck? Oh, no.
Oh,
Hold on.
hang
Kevin was not prepared.
Wait. Oh, that microphone's off. Do you mind flipping the switch on the?
We're all professionals here, we
Yep,
swear.
There you go. Talk now.
Hello?
Yeah.
There it
you
is.
go.
My question, given that we apparently have a new player today in Evander, what is the expectation for goal contributions for this season? Do we think we'll do better or worse than what he had at Portland last year?
Oh. So Evander tied Lucho with 19 assists. I don't remember how many goals Evander had.
I think it was 15 and 15, wasn't he? Like an MLS play, I want to
That
say.
sounds right. I think it was definitely 15 goals. I can't remember how many
I
assists.
think it was 15 and 15. I think that
So let's say the benchmark for a $12 million player, he's got to beat 21 goal contributions.
he'll hammer that. Like, I'm hammering the over on that. Like, the thing about Evander, as we said it before, is that he's already played in this league. And that is such a superpower that he's not familiarizing himself with the travel schedule. He's not familiarizing himself with the state of play, with who his opponents are. I think Evander is going to have a special year. I would be shocked if his goal contributions are under 21.
I agree. I think I'm a little bit more bearish on Evander early on. I think when you're coming to a team that was so Lucho dominant, that really did not know how to play without Lucho, I think you have to bake in some time to get acclimated with a new system. If you're a new player coming into an established system to begin with, you need some time to acclimate. And I think this team is also going to need time to acclimate without Lucho. Evander's coming in late. He hasn't had a preseason with us. So I feel like for me, I'd be under the 21 goal contributions. But not because of the player he is. I think there's just going to be some time to acclimate. So I would say probably I'm looking at 17, 18 would be my benchmark for a player that's coming into a new system, replacing the MVP of the league. I mean,
Right.
like that, that's huge. So
Yeah.
The other thing is, too, is that not for nothing, there's a lot of other options out there to score goals and
Right.
assist on this team. He
Oh,
doesn't have
correct.
to be Superman immediately. But we have our next question. Please.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Love that.
Aw.
What player would win in a Gold Star Gorito eating contest?
ooh.
I have an answer, but I want to hear what you guys have first.
I mean, my guts. Nick Hagelin. I mean, come on, right?
I mean,
Nick
hometown.
He's a Cincinnati native. He's used to the chili. I think he's firing down like 20 Doritos.
He's also
easily.
a little older.
Little old. Man,
You know,
that's true.
when you think about what is your peak age to really put Conies away and put Doritos away, you're probably thinking college age around that time, I'd say.
Yeah.
So my answer, perfect lead in, Paul Walters. Paul Walters, local kid,
Yeah?
working his butt off.
Yeah?
Goalkeepers are kind of weird. He probably does this for fun anyway.
Right. I think the better question is, in the goalkeeper's room, who's winning this contest because I think Roman Sneaky could put away just an absolute. You'd be a monster in the Go-Rito room. I'll say that.
So the Kelsey brothers did a live show from Fifth Third Arena last year, and as a part of it, they had a chili eating like what do you call that thing? Like relay race where they would like eat conies, then go to the next person, and it was UC athletes, and there was this poor runner who had never had Cincinnati chili before, trying to scarf down 5 conies. She couldn't get past one. She vomited.
I'm
She
sure.
just was like not familiar with like the spice or the food at all. She had no idea what she was getting into. So yeah, I do think you need somebody who has had Cincinnati chili before to go ham on this thing.
We have our next question right here. Great question. Appreciate that.
Okay, so we all know the home opener is this Saturday. Who do you guys have as your starting 11?
Great question.
Speaking of the home opener, I want to make it a point that I am officially taking my talents to the First Financial Club.
Wow.
And I'm graduating from the Bailey. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That was big for me.
We're happy to welcome you
Yes.
to the other half, as they say. I think that the starting 11 is pretty set at this point.
Can I ask a little bit of a like alternative on that? Do you think it'll be the same formation that we've been playing?
I do.
You do.
I think it'll be the same formation.
You don't think there will be any tweaks
I don't think
because
there's
of
any-
the late add to Evander?
The only question that I have is I think the back line is pretty set with Teenage, Miles, and Miazga. I think that Roman is obviously your keeper.
Yep.
I think there's a question of whether or not Engel starts the season at left wing back. It would not surprise me to see either Yuya Kubo in that spot until Engel sort of gets more acclimated, or to see Orishano there with Kubo up top as the second striker. Either way, I think that some way, somehow, Yuya Kubo is in the first starting 11, and that's just because there are a lot of moving pieces coming into the team really late. So between Engel and Evander, it would not surprise me to see one of those two coming off the bench for the first home opener.
My one big concern, though, is Miazga's health. We'll see what happens in Honduras on Wednesday. We'll see exactly who's healthy. I was reminded in the Discord that Motagua, pretty good team. They have not lost a continental game on home soil in 22 years.
Right. I mean, also massive home field advantage because I'd wager most of the people on the FCC team couldn't find their way to Honduras with an atlas.
Yeah.
Not a place they find themselves frequently.
But they knocked off Pachuca last year. They 2 years ago, last year, they lost to Saprissa in the sort of qualifying game to get in there. Saprissa then went on to knock out Club America. So like this Motagua
Those sounded
team,
like Mexican dishes, not teams.
I thought like Pachuca, Haktua, something going on there. We have our next question, though.
And I'll even go as far as to say our final question here. What do you have for us?
This is for Shwy.
Oh, wow.
Just as we heard a lot of backstories and knowing you are a founder of the Pride?
Yes, I'll say by pride. I was in the house that Payne Rankin lived in when he founded. So he asked me.
He was a finance major.
Of the Pride?
Do I have any good early stories of the Pride?
How much did Jeff Birding pay you to start the Pride?
I know that is the rumor going around. I still have not received my check in the mail. Well, I don't know what was shared. I was a little bit late. I'm not sure what was shared before I got here, and I know that I've shared some stories in the past. It's hard to pinpoint. I mean, I have a really fond memories of going down to Louisville.
Yeah.
As much as we hated that team, that truly was so much fun going down for the away days, doing the plastic cup, going to that one brewery beforehand. They would block down the street.
Against the Grain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Staying at the Galt House, like trying to be thinking that we were fancy, just going out after. I mean, like those are like some of my most fond memories of just doing like that, the away days in the USL, where it was just kind of like, we'd bootstrap it, we'd be tailgating. It wasn't anything. people were definitely giving us looks like these are just the weirdos that are supporting these soccer teams. And
they looked at the people that supported minor league soccer in Louisville like weirdos. The people that were driving down from other cities to be the away fans for minor league soccer, we looked like space aliens from Close Encounters to these people.
Thinking back to the plastic cup, I do remember giving one of the guys a concussion on accident, and then everyone getting really, really pissed at me. I didn't really play soccer. They subbed me on. It was a corner. Corner comes in. I just jump and I just nail this guy with my shoulder. And they're like, "It's a friendly." I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm not a friendly
I played
guy.
hockey."
Do you remember the time we went down to Louisville and we asked the bartender after the game, "Is there a good place to get some food around here after the game?" And we were unironically given a recommendation to go to TGI Fridays.
Yes. Yeah. And then I think we ended up at Guy Fieri's restaurant and pissed off all the they were all like getting ready to close down.
We walked in way too late.
And we were way too hammered.
Yeah.
And we were just making jokes. Say, "Can you take my burger to Flavortown?
Yeah.
Please dunk it in donkey sauce." And they were like, "Can you leave, please? We are going to spit in your food."
So take my burger to Flavortown, and I'm just looking like, God, they're going to spit in all of our food.
I said it so I was like, "And could you tell the chef to take it to Flavortown? Do you mind taking it to Flavortown?"
If you will.
I gave you grief about Jeff Birding paying you to start the Pride. I do have a very funny Jeff Birding in Louisville story. On the aforementioned bus that me and Andrew took down by ourselves, we got off the bus and we were walking our way to the stadium where we ran into Jeff Birding.
Okay.
"Oh, hey, Jeff." And he goes, "Oh, hey, guys, thanks for coming out. Here, give these to FC Cincinnati fans." And he handed us a stack of 25 tickets to the game. And I don't know who from Cincinnati drove down to that game without already having tickets. I don't know who we were supposed to give these to. So we walked over to the box office, and anybody wearing FCC gear got a free ticket. But it was really funny to give away a ticket as these people were in line to buy tickets from Louisville.
I'm surprised you didn't just chuck it on the baseball field. You seem to have a bit of a history with that.
Do you remember the game where we got the absolute tar beat out of us, like 5-0, 6-0?
Yeah.
So I took my FC Cincinnati jersey off and I was just wearing a white undershirt. And I went over to the Louisville section to try and get them to start doing the wave. Just because I thought that would be a funny visual on
the Denzel Washington meme. Like, I'm leaving with something.
Yeah, no,
I'm leaving with something.
No, I am going to make fun of y'all for doing the wave at a soccer game, even if I have to start the wave that you're doing at a soccer game.
Incredible. Well, there you guys have it. That's going to do it for our portion of the podcast.
And thank you all for coming out. This is awesome. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you to Gold Star.
Clap. Thank you
to
Gold
Gold Star
Star
for having us out, for being great sponsors of the show last year and hopefully this year. Hint, hint. Thank you all very much. I look forward to seeing you guys at games, seeing you guys throughout the year, and stay tuned. We got more fun stuff coming up this year. So.
And give it up for the staff, right? My God.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
The poor kitchen staff we've abused.
This had to be the weirdest experience for them on a work night, right?
And also, round of applause for the people that did show up and didn't know there was a podcast happening tonight.
You can tell in all their faces. They're like,
sorry.
what
We're
the
sorry.
fuck is happening here?
We are so sorry. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you guys around the road.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy PostCast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive
patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati and, like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.